Archie Episode 2 starts in 1962 with Cary Grant and Diane Kennan turning up for a Halloween party at Alfred Hitchcock's mansion. Diane and Hitchcock's wife, Alma, speak for the first time at the event, and she tells her she's the youngest of Cary's lovers he's ever seen. She asks her how long they have been an item, and Diane confirms they aren't actually an item. Alma reminds her that Cary is still technically married to her friend Betsy. Cary comes along and interrupts the conversation, and Alma rubs it into him what Diane said about them not being an item. Later on, the party is in full swing. Hitchcock asks Cary to say grace at the big dinner table all the guests are sitting at. During the meal, Diane tells Cary she can't commit to someone who doesn't share the same goals as her. She wants family and children, but Cary doesn't want this and just wants to be happy for now. Diane storms out. Cary goes after her and says he's sorry. He tells her he's in love with her, but she says she can't do this and leaves the party. New York City, 1925, Archie is trying to make progress in the industry, and at an audition, he is rejected, with the casting director saying he walks funny and has a thick neck. Archie is on stage at another audition for a singing part, and once again, it hasn't gone well. He says he can juggle too and tumble, but they ask him if he's ever spoken any lines, and he hasn't. They then ask him where he's from, and he says Bristol in England, which results in a rejection. Archie returns home and is confronted by his landlord, who tells him if he doesn't pay his already overdue rent, he'll be evicted. He is alone and dejected in his apartment, and he thinks back to happier days at the cinema with his mother in a flashback. Palm Springs, California, 19620. Grace Kelly comes to visit Cary, and they talk about Hollywood contracts and other things. He says he's made a lot of terrible mistakes in his life, which leads to them taking a walk, and Grace asks why she was summoned to Palm Springs. Cary tells her he's met someone and needs some advice. He says he's crazy about her, but she's broken it off with him. She wants commitment and family, and Cary asks Grace, "What do you think? Could I?" She says, "A boy from Bristol and a fake princess. What a journey." He says he can't be a father, as he's too set in his ways and selfish. Grace tells him that's exactly the reason he should do it. Diane is talking with people at her drama group about Cary Grant. One person suggests they have heard he's gay, and another tells her if she doesn't go for him, can they have his number? Cary calls her at the drama group, which stuns her, and she wonders how he got the number. Cary says it's a small town and tells her he wants to have lunch with her at the studio. She initially says no, but then agrees to meet him. Back in the 1920s, Archie bumps into George Burns, who was present at his previous audition. He joins him for lunch, and George tells him he's due to meet with his lawyer. George tells Archie his accent needs to change if he wants to be a success. He mentions a play a friend of his called Fay Ray is putting on, and they need a good-looking fella for it if he's interested. He also asks Archie if he's heard of serendipity. He says he hasn't, and George tells him to look it up. Archie is learning lines and practicing for his audition for the play. He is perfecting and changing his accent and essentially becoming the character he will morph into later in life. Archie attends the audition for the play. They tell him they'll be in touch with an answer, and when he leaves, Fay Ray says she likes him. Diane turns up at the studio. Cary introduces her to Doris Day, and she tells her she's a fan of her work. Cary and Diane then have lunch together, and she asks Cary to tell her about the other women in his life. She asks about Marilyn Monroe, and what was she like? She also asks if he does drugs, as she heard rumors about him doing LSD. Cary insists there's a lot about him she doesn't know. Diane also asks him if he's gay, as he flirts with both sexes. Cary insists, "I have loved a lot of people and married some of them, and every one of them has broken my heart." He then asks if she's going to break his heart. Diane concedes she probably will. Back in the 1920s, Archie is preparing for his performance in the play. He got the part. The play starts, and media clippings confirm it's a hit. Archie is playing the role of Kerry Lockwood in the play, and the media raves about him, saying he has a bright future. Archie meets with an agent who asks him how much he's getting paid for the play. He says it's $175 a week and he's done 3 weeks. He tells him to ask for a hike $300 a week for the rest of the run. Archie is with his current love interest when he meets a man called Randy Scott. The lady with Randy offers to get Archie a screen test, so he turns up for it, and his confidence is building, and he appears to be nailing it. This causes tension in his relationship as her career isn't quite taking off. In contrast, Archie has been offered a 5-year contract, and he thinks he's going to be a star. At a press office, the lady in charge needs details of Archie's past to put out information about him to build his career. He says his mother is dead and he doesn't see his father. He wants where he was born left out, and tells them to make it up, say I was born in Wisconsin. He insists this is better than the truth. They also want him to change his name. He suggests the name Kerry Lockwood, like his character in the play, but unfortunately, another actor already has that name. The lady says she likes Kerry, and asks him to go through the phone book and pick a different second name. He picks Grant, and Cary Grant is born. Paramount Pictures 1933, Cary Grant is on the lot and dressed as a sailor for a role. A performer called May sees him and insists she wants him in her movie. If it can talk, I'll take him for the lead. A colleague asks why him. She says, 3 good reasons. Sex. Sometime later, Cary is on set with May as a smartly dressed man. He's on his way up the Hollywood ladder. We cut back to 1986 with an evening with Cary Grant. He talks about fame and being a star and opportunities with a lot of women, and how he and Randy Scott lived together as 2 eligible bachelors. He resisted the studio breaking them apart and said it worked, as we split the rent. Cary says deep down he knew being rich and famous wasn't going to make him happy, and claims he didn't know who he really was. Flash forward to sometime during Cary Grant's Hollywood career. It's not revealed what year it is. He reveals to Stanley that he and Barbara have had a huge fight and divorce number 2 is on the cards. He then reveals he just had a call from his father whom he hasn't heard from for 30 years, insisting he needs to see him as he has something to tell him. Cary asks Stanley to free up time in his schedule so he can go home. Bristol, England, Cary is back in the land of Archie Leach. He meets with his father in a pub, and he is accompanied by his other son, Archie/Cary's half-brother, Eric. Cary asks his father what he wants after all these decades. His father tells Eric to leave and gives Cary the bombshell that his mother is alive. His dad insists he did it for him. Cary is shocked and asks where she is. His father admits he had her committed and she's at Fishpond's asylum. Cary attacks his father and tells him he is disowning him once and for all and leaves. The episode ends with Cary visiting with his mother at Fishpond's asylum. He asks if she recognizes him, and his mother says, "My son, that's not my son. Where's my little Archie?" The episode review. This is a decent episode that continues the story of the birth of Cary Grant, the Hollywood superstar. There is a lot of unnecessary name-dropping in this episode with Doris Day, Grace Kelly, and Alfred Hitchcock all appearing when they actually don't need to, which is infuriating. The American accents put on by British actors continues to be infuriating, but at the heart of it, there is a very good story to tell in Archie, and it does have its good moments, despite being a bit muddled with the different stages of his life all mixed together.